Sacred Siren Circle, a sacred space for soul-led women ready to reclaim their voice, remember their power, and rise in sisterhood. I am your host, Marni Benninger, mama, soulpreneur, rebirth alchemist, Ayurvedic guide, and sacred space holder for women who are done living in silence. Each week, we gather in this circle to share stories, tools, and transmissions that awaken your feminine fire and help you live, lead, and love in alignment. So take a breath, drop in, and let your sacred siren rise. I am so honored that you are rejoining me and listening to the second episode of many to come of the Sacred Siren Circle. So, reminder, I am Marni Benninger. I am your host, a mama, an Ayurvedic guide, and I am here to bring out the sacred siren, to bring the stories of the sacred siren, to bring the stories of how women came from the silent she to the sacred siren. And I wanted to start with the story of Sankalpa because, yes, sacred siren is who I'm helping you become. But my business is the Sankalpa Women's Collective. So Sankalpa is a Sanskrit word. It is used often in Ayurveda as like your deepest desire. What is that thing your heart is singing to you, your womb is singing to you, that you deeply want? So when I first heard that word 3 years ago in my first Shakti school class, it just lit me up. I was like, what is this thing? How do I find my Sankalpa? I didn't even know what my deep desire was. So this was back in 2022. Yeah, 2022. Wow. So yeah, 3 years ago. Depending on when you're listening to this, but it is April 4th of 2025 today when I am recording this. So it will have been almost 3.5 years ago that I first started in Shakti school. I've been deep diving Ayurveda for 5 years now, since 2020, since the pandemic hit, and I owned a beautiful spa and wellness center. So I thought that was my Sankalpa. I thought my deepest desire was to own this like big city. I live in a small town of about 11,000 people. I grew up here. I moved away to Calgary, Alberta for about 7 years. And then I've been back for 18 years now. And so Sankalpa called to my soul. Sankalpa was like, this is what is going to help you move forward. Is if you can find and feel your deepest desire, you need to bring a collective of women together that are all walking their path and speaking their talk of Sankalpa, that they're wanting to live with this deepest desire, that they are voicing this deepest desire. And so the Sankalpa Women's Collective was about 2024 that business actually formed. I owned, like I mentioned, I own a spa. I owned a spa for 14 years. I was with it for 16 because I bought it from, I was managing it before I bought it. And it was my world. I thought it was my everything. It was my identity. I didn't even realize, but I was codependent on it. It helped me grow up. I was only 27 when my parents helped me purchase the spa. I had always been in kind of manager positions. So I'd managed budgets and I had managed people and I had, managed events. I was in a wedding and event planner before I was in the spa industry. And I worked at a beautiful spa in Calgary, was where I got introduced into the spa industry. I never knew I wanted to be in that industry. And I had this vision of bringing together a group of people that were like-minded and wanted to help someone that was healing on their journey, that worked together. So let's say you had like a massage therapist, then you would have a chiropractor and a physio and a psychologist and all these pieces working together. So you would tell your story once and you could get all the healing that you needed. Well, this was a lot harder in practice than it was in this beautiful theory I had. So when I got approached to purchased the spa. This is what I thought I would do with it, that I would be able to turn this business into this beautiful wellness center where people could come and just be healed and have all these practitioners working together to really bring out their best self. And that was kind of my vision for it. I didn't have the one thing I was selling. I just gave and gave and gave. Then I had 3 children amongst having this business. Then COVID hit. And at the highest peak, the spa was making almost $1 million, had 40 employees, and I was freaking miserable. I hated my life. I didn't even realize I was so unhappy and so burned out. That is how deep I was in the burnout, was that I didn't even know I was burnt out. I didn't even know that I was living in this stress world constantly. COVID hit. I had to leave the location we had invested almost, $250,000 into renoing because we couldn't afford the rent. I just picked up, hoping I could make it. Another location opened up that was a lot smaller, going from over 3,000 square feet to less than 700 square feet. I think it was almost 500 square feet. And I thought, okay, this is just a temporary landing ground. I can get back on my feet. I can do more. And so I did that. I decided I would not bring back any team members that I did not feel deeply connected to, that were not fully bought into the business, that did not want exactly what I wanted. I changed our hours so that we were a lot more limited, and thought this was the perfect way to reform this and to really live it, to be so that I could come out of this burnout that I had kind of started to realize I was in. So that was 2020 that we moved. So it went like that for a couple of years. So a couple good years. It was good. It was fine. It was not my Sankalpa. It was just this baby I had birthed that I thought I wanted, that took over my life, that I was codependent with. I didn't know who I was without Mountain Water Spa. That was the name of the business, Mountain Water Spa and Wellness. And at the end of 2022, the team I had a hard time getting team members that year. Lots of people left the industry during COVID because nobody wanted to be in people's personal spaces. It was already always hard to find employees in our town because you had to either draw them in from outside or, you had to either train them. So I'd already struggled with this. And then the end of 2022, I was down to 4 employees. Then I was down to 2 employees, and I knew one was going on mat leave. And then one gave me her notice that she was taking a job up at one of our heli-skiing operations. And the other one then let me know that she didn't want me to stay open for her because I knew I still had a couple more months. And I was like, I can figure it out. And I took out loan after loan for this business. I sold my soul for this business. I came back to this business 2 days after giving birth to my children every single time to be at work. I would be working on our vacations. I thought this is what you had to do to be a successful business owner. I was taught that. I saw that in the world. Our patriarchy, the big men that had these big businesses, they worked all the time. They worked 7 days a week. They were available 24 hours a day. Their phones were never turned off. I would wake up in the middle of the night to check my messages on from employees in case they were sick the next day, to figure out what I had to reschedule. When I'm talking burnout, I am talking burnout. So take us to the end of 2022. And I didn't have a choice. I couldn't pivot again. Everyone would always say to me that, wow, you pivot so well. You can just change this business to be exactly what it needs to be. And I can, and I did. But I couldn't pivot. I couldn't pivot without any employees. I thought about it. I was like, well, I could do services. I could run circles out of the space. I had opened up a year before that, maybe even 2 years before that, an Ayurvedic inspired cafe that was right across from it. So there was kind of some interconnection play that I had been picturing here. And I had a beautiful talk with the GM of the hotel. We were in a hotel. He was like, why are you doing this? Like, what do you want from this? Like, what are you hoping to get by keeping it open? And like, he should have been convincing me to stay, keep my lease, all of that, right? But he just was like, he's amazing. He just was like, what are you doing? Basically, like, why are you fighting so hard to keep this business? And so I decided to shut it down. And I, in order to shut it down, because we got lots of COVID support in Canada for businesses, over $60,000 support. I was in arrears with payroll and EI and all these kind of things as well, because it had been hard. It had been hard. Any business owners can attest, especially physical business owners during COVID, it had been hard. And so I had to also declare personal bankruptcy. So when I shut down the spa, I also had to declare personal bankruptcy. And with these two things falling at the same time, and then I went, okay, well, I'm going to keep the cafe and just see if maybe that's my passion. Maybe that's my Sankalpa. And so that was 2023. So the spa fell. I was devastated. I cried anytime I met anyone. I would barely go out in the community because I didn't want to meet anyone who would talk about it. And I decided I would cry whenever anyone was like, I'm so sorry to hear about the spa closing. And like, it felt like a part of me had died, and a part of me had died. This had been part of my identity for so long. It had been through everything with me. It had held me up because I was so codependent with it. It had held me up through all of the hard parts that happened in my world. And it was me. I was it. And so then 2023, I was like, okay, I'm going to put my energy into this Ayurvedic cafe and retail boutique, and I'm going to make this a go. And I did. And it did great. And then my lease came up for renewal, and we were behind on rent because even though I was doing great, there's still so many expenses. And they went, what are you doing? Again, they're amazing. They went, what are you doing? Why do you want to hang on to this? And I went, I don't know. Like, why am I holding so hard onto these physical businesses? Because I'm scared of who I am without them. I don't know who I am without them. So then, end of 2023, shut down the cafe. And so now I had lost both my businesses. I had declared bankruptcy, and then Sankalpa was born. So it wasn't the next day. I went into deep healing. I slept a lot because my nervous system had been on high, on fight and flight or freeze or fawn for so many years and in the next circle, I'm going to share my personal story. And you can see why also I was on such a fight, flight, fawn mode. But really, I slept. I slept and I slept and I slept. I couldn't get enough sleep. And rest in our society that is one circle we will be doing. Rest is seen as not productive. You're lazy. Oh my gosh, so many things. It is not seen as something you need. You should be able to get through this without needing any sort of rest, right? Like, just keep fighting through. I worked with various mentors. I did various programs. So in 2024, so in 2024, I was in 2 Ayurvedic health counseling programs, both very different, both amazing in their own ways. So one was Shakti School with Katie Silcox. The other one was Madhaha Way with Anjali Diva. And they both held me. They both were teaching me how to come into this deep ancient wisdom of myself, to come into my feminine form. I did this beautiful program on womb alchemy and feminine alchemy with Natasha Dubney, and I had been trained as through Sisterhood Circles as a women's circle facilitator, and then I did a Spiritpreneur business course, and I did an oracle card reading. I did a soul card tarot reader course. And so I was accumulating all these courses. And then something clicked in 2024. So those courses were already ongoing before even 2024. Something clicked. And I went, oh, all of these trainings that I've been trying to bring to other people, I need to bring to myself. And that is when Sankalpa Women's Collective was born, because that is when I started to connect deep into myself. That is when I started to connect into my Sankalpa. And my Sankalpa was really that I wanted to help as many women as possible, that I wanted to be living in deep alignment with myself. I wanted to be living deeply in feminine flow. I wanted to be held by a sacred masculine container. I wanted to be able to be expressing all parts of myself. I wanted to be me, and I wanted to help other women become themselves. So Sankalpa was born. Sankalpa Women's Collective, Sankalpa Goddesses. From there became the Sacred Siren. That is the persona that we take on in Sankalpa Goddesses, is we are these sacred siren women. We are no longer being silenced. We are no longer being hidden. We are no longer playing small. We are here to change the world. And it was when I realized that I was here to change the world. I was here to create a movement. I was here to inspire. I was here to lead through soft power. I was here to just be wholly myself in every possible way. That is when I really started to live in my sacred intention, and started to live in Sankalpa. And so living in Sankalpa is living in the feminine flow. It is living in harmony with your intuition. It is living in harmony with the divine, with God, with creation, with the universe, whatever word you want to put in here that works for you. It was living in harmony with our ancestors. It was allowing myself to be so deeply connected to myself, to be so deeply connected to my womb, to be so deeply connected to my heart, and to express it through my sacred power, through my throat chakra. And that, my dear sisters, my dear goddesses, is Sankalpa. That is that essence of pure desire that brings you home to yourself. That is Sankalpa Women's Collective. That is why I invite you to join us here. That is what the Sacred Siren Circle is about. It is bringing women together to uplift each other, to rise, to heal, to find the piece of themselves that they are missing, to reclaim what has been taken from them. And it is not about becoming a new version of yourself. It is about reclaiming all those pieces of you. It is hidden in you, and we just need to reclaim it. We just need to bring it to light. That, my dear sister, is what we are here for. So don't forget to subscribe, listen where you listen to all of your podcasts, and I look forward to telling my story. Definitely tune in for the next one. That's the story about how Sankalpa was born and how we are working with those overgivers, silenced, those unworthy feelings, those unheard, unseen women, all of those pieces of you. We are here to support you, to hold you, to see you. You are safe here with me, with us. We only hold each other up. So I look forward to telling my story in the next podcast, in the next circle. And let me know. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have had any sort of like earth-shattering, deep sacred voids. Deep dark nights of the soul is what lots of people tell them. It was my sacred void is what I call it. I would love to hear your stories. So with love and light, I will see you in the next circle, and I cannot wait to connect further with you.